got a long-awaited guest, Jay. How you doing, Jay?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Jay is the owner of OneShot Media, Agent Media. He's basically making waves in the real estate photography, videography world right now. Honestly, it's been crazy. We used to be coworkers way back in the day, and I think we kind of shared like an entrepreneurial kind of spirit and vision when working at DRG. And I don't know, it's just been amazing to like see our circles like kind of come back together in the realm of just like video and photo work, but we're also like in such different like niches that like I feel like we never compete for business. We more or less help each other out.
Yeah.
With business that isn't aligned with what we're doing. So.
For sure. Yeah, it's funny to think back on the DRG days. I remember you were like selling supplements on Amazon or something.
Yeah, well, yeah, that never really became my identity. I struggled pretty hard selling supplements on Amazon. Spent thousands of dollars trying to push products, and now I look back and I'm like, how the heck was I selling products on Amazon and I had no idea about like even what I was selling? I didn't test it. I just found a supply. Like, that's kind of scary. And that's why today I don't even buy products on Amazon. I buy products on Amazon. I don't buy supplements or like protein or any like vitamins on Amazon because it's like kind of scary.
I believe it. I know nothing about the space, but I understand the weariness.
Yeah, it's weird. Honestly, I did see a few articles recently about like people just like having like baking soda pills that were like supposed to be creatine or something.
Wild.
So dumb.
I've heard people like cutting turmeric with lead because it's also orange and it's like bought and sold by the pound. So the heavier it is, the more you can get for it. I don't know the details, but I know turmeric's a hot item of lacing.
Yeah. And that's why I just stick to cameras now, man.
I believe it.
But yeah, the online sales space, it sounds great, sounds glamorous. And I think I probably fell a little bit into that because I was just like trying to become an entrepreneur. And at the time it was like every time you scrolled on Instagram, it was like, I made $1 million last month as drop shipping and all this stuff. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever get into that?
Not really. Like so I went to the University of St. Thomas and I was a part of their like competition entrepreneurship team there.
Yeah.
And so we had dabbled in some like fundraising efforts where we drop shipped merch and things like that, but not hardcore and never Amazon.
Yeah. And I remember you telling me about that entrepreneurship like kind of group you were in.
Yeah.
It seems like it was pretty transformative for you.
Oh, very much
you
so.
like did a lot with it.
Yeah. I feel like you can kind of trace everything I'm doing like back down to the early days of that.
Yeah.
So
let's kind of take the story in stride. So at the very start, I met you. We're both working at DRG. I think we're both assistants for like the highest producing teams there, which was kind of cool. So we had like the same job. Actually, I think you were maybe a little bit more. Maybe your team just kept you more busy than my team because
yeah,
I feel like I didn't do anything.
I held a couple different titles. So when I got hired there, I was a marketing assistant. So I was just doing the busy work, hanging lock boxes, making brochures, things of that nature, running our little like internal CRM and things like that. About a year in, I got a little promotion. You remember Stephanie?
Yeah.
So she quit and I got her job. So I was now like the team's operations manager. And so with that just came like a little bit more money and a little bit more responsibility, I guess. And I was kind of doing a little more like transaction coordination, and they paid for me to get licensed and a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I actually briefly left DRG with them to start their own brokerage. So Marissa and Eric now own PS Real Estate. And I helped start all of that, did a lot of the early web work, design work, stuff like that.
Did you do the logo?
I didn't design the logo. We paid someone to design the logo, but I was a part of like the revisions process and whatnot.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like the way that their brand turned out.
Yeah,
they got to be still moving.
Yep. Yeah, they're killing it. And they have a brick and mortar in Northeast. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're doing good. But I was only there for a few months with PS Real Estate, and then I left.
So how long have you been doing, kind of like the photo, video stuff, all together? Because I think when you left, you didn't jump right into what you're doing now, right?
No, I feel like I can't clearly answer that question without telling the story.
Tell it.
So I'm an entrepreneurship major. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. the real estate deal I liked, but it was kind of just my college job. And then I won this big entrepreneurship competition called The Fowler, and that was hosted by Ron Fowler, who owns the San Diego Padres. And so we took an idea into that. We won. We got a little bit of funding, and that was kind of like when my entrepreneurship world started. And so the idea that we competed with ultimately ended up never ever going anywhere. But it kind of led to the next one. We had a little food delivery business that picked up a little steam. And then ultimately one of the judges of that competition ended up reaching out with an interest in hiring me. And I'll never forget it, like, not to dog all the real estate people out there, but I went out to lunch with him, and he's a very successful venture capital leader. He'd sold his business. He's had multiple investments, and he's very much just like an eccentric entrepreneur. And he took me out for lunch one day, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I think I'm going to go down the real estate path and like be a real estate agent. We just started this brokerage, doing all this stuff." And he goes, "If you end up in real estate, it's a wild waste of talent." And
Really?
I remember that
That's
got in my
super
head.
cool.
And I remember that got in
Yeah.
my head, and I was like, "Oh gosh." And so we ended up, kicking the ball around for a few weeks, and he ultimately offered to hire me into his little venture capital firm, which was just like 3 guys strong. And basically it was just like his bank account and exploring a bunch of crazy ideas that he wanted to get into. And so like
Sounds
we were
like a
doing
perfect setup.
Yeah, so we
for
were
an
doing
entrepreneur.
projects in Sri Lanka and like all over the world.
You went to Sri Lanka. I stalked
Yeah.
your Instagram yesterday because I had to figure out like things we could talk about.
Yeah, so like spent time in Sri Lanka working on a really cool company there that's still going to this day, which is cool, but a bunch of random investments in like the hydroponic space and like the marijuana space, a vodka company, like bunch of random stuff that it was just cool to explore. And keep in mind, I'm like 22 doing this. So
Yeah.
just being able to travel and see the world and get exposed to things was super cool.
Anything is cool when you're 22.
Yeah,
It's
and-
like no matter what you're doing, you feel like you're like killing it. I feel like.
100%. And then I was there for a couple of years and really liked it. But I just was starting to get to the point where I wasn't like seeing how this plays out long term, just because it was, kind of 3 guys playing around.
Yeah.
And it was fun, but I'm like, there's no benefits. I had a kid on the way too, which was another big thing. My wife was like 7 months pregnant, and I ended up quitting. And that was when I started what was originally called the 101 Marketing. And I was trying to make real estate websites.
Yeah, and that's when we met. We had like that lunch at Tavern or something,
yeah.
and you had talked about, and I feel like it wasn't that clear like what you were doing, but I could tell like you finally like, I feel like you were finally like gearing up for something big.
Yeah, along the way I had self-taught the real estate website game, or with making PS Real Estate's website. And then, do you remember Anna Vogler? She
Yeah, of
reached out
course.
to me to make a website. And so like she was my second website, and really naive. I wasn't like that good at it or anything, but I was
Yeah.
just like, I'm going to make real estate websites.
Yeah,
and
of course.
that was going to be my thing. And so I also got to spend like my wife's maternity leave home kind of trying to start building this up.
And you were talking about, weren't you making content for agents at the time, or you had envisioned making content for agents?
Yeah, so I was going to lean into like the digital advertising world and social media management and stuff like that. And so I actually had I picked up Roost Real Estate, BJ Lavelle, and he had given me a good little opportunity. He was a little retainer client, and I wasn't making enough. So I was like bouncing out of these random jobs. Like I'd go take a regular like W-2 job for a few months, and then I'd like try it again, and like did that twice. I took a job with Bite Squad, and then I took a job with a company called Suma Brands. Both I was there like months.
Suna, I know Suna.
And ultimately I picked up a couple clients, and then I was like, all right, I'm going to try this again. And anyway, so the big pivoting point here is he's bugging me. He's like, do you take home photos? Because I took their headshots. And I'm like, no. I'm like, I know nothing about home photos. And he was like, well, you're kind of expensive. The least you could do is take my real estate photos. And I was like, oh, okay, let me figure it out. So it's like YouTube University, figuring it out, bracketing, all that kind of stuff. Shoot the first couple, they kind of suck, but he's hanging with me. And I'm working my way through it, getting a little better. And I've done a handful at this point, and Joe Grenay calls me out of the blue. I hadn't talked to the guy in like years.
Yep.
And he's like, I see you're doing real estate photography. And I'm like, sorta. And he's like, well, spacecrafting is getting too expensive. So if you can make me a deal and uphold the quality, like I'd be willing to use you.
And that night, Isaac King calls me and he's like, Joe's working out a deal with Jay to do all these real estate photos. We have really good listings. They need to look really good. He has to make them look really good.
Yeah, and so here's where the story gets funny. I had zero faith in myself to actually uphold spacecrafting's quality.
Yeah.
Like I've been in this a couple months. I taught myself this on YouTube.
And spacecrafting, for like people that are listening from out of state or whatever, spacecrafting is like the end all, I mean, used to be like the end all be all, like best real estate photograph, like can't compete with it. And they still are really good. They're just kind of branching into new markets and things like that.
Yeah, they were
adjusting
early.
their business.
So like they started in 2006 or something. It's only a few years after the internet. So like they were early in real estate advertising.
Go online, type in your credit card information, the lockbox code, the address. They come there, they shoot it, they're out, you get the photos.
And
super
so
easy.
They established like they got all the market share because they were in it first, basically. But anyway, so I'm very much like a say yes and figure it out kind of guy. So to Joe, I'm like, yeah, of course we can uphold quality. No big deal. He's like, all right, I'm going to give you a couple shoots. And I go on LinkedIn and find a real estate photographer that had been around for a while. And I was like, hey, I need you to do these shoots for me. Her name's Lauren, and she works for me now, which is funny. And so I'm like, Lauren, I need you to do these shoots. So Lauren shoots all the DRG stuff for like 60 days, and it looks great.
And Isaac calls me and goes, dude, Jay's photos are actually insane. And I'm like, send me them. And then sure enough.
Yeah. So we like do that for 60 days. And meanwhile, I'm learning. I'm going on the shoots with Lauren. Like I'm trying to expedite my learning process. And then finally we hit the point where Joe's like, everything looks great. Like if you can handle it, we'll give you everything, the entire leasing volume. And then his shoots, Isaac shoots, and then like a couple teams there that were ready to go. With us as well. So all of a sudden, kind of without trying, I was doing like 250 listings a year. And that's when it kind of fell on my lap. And I figured out like something clicked and I understood it because I was the guy booking those spacecrafting photos for, DRG and PS Real Estate back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I really want to go all in and build like a more agent-centric real estate media company. And I didn't want to undercut the price. It's like a big no-no for me. I don't like driving the industry down. I just wanted to offer more value. And I started by implementing my like website skills. So I'd make everyone their own unique booking portal rather than going to agentmedia.com or like spacecrafting.com and doing the same deal every time. If you don't want to pick from package A, B, or C, like you're left with limited options. And you could go find like a Joe Schmo with a camera who's basically willing to do whatever you want him to do. But if you're a high volume team, like he can't keep up with you. If he's taking on more clients, like you can't, you can only shoot and edit so many properties yourself and maintain quality and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And so,
and you're in a business where it's, at least from the outside looking in, we're probably going to get into it, but it feels scalable. It feels like probably more scalable than like a business like mine.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they're doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, and the data's just like really finite and out there. There's about 65,000 homes a year that sell in the metro area. There's 14,000 real estate agents. Like all of those numbers are very in front of you. And you can go on like Market View Broker and just download the list in real time of like year-to-date volume, who are the top 100 real estate agents. And like, it's all just accessible.
Yeah.
And so this is the point where I probably went like overly in, and I was like, we're going to do it all. Like we're going to be full service. We're going to be the best. We're going to build custom booking portals for everyone with your own tailored products. Like we just went for it and just started like going down the list and DMing and being like, our first offer was like, we're going to do any size home, $220 for photos and a 30-second reel was like our initial offer, go to market strategy. And we picked up, quite a few agents doing that. And then it just rolled and rolled and rolled. And yeah, I mean, we went from...
Because that's the hard part. You have to get that market share. You have to you have to provide so much value on the front end that these people even give you a shot.
Yeah. And along the way, we just talked to people. And like, I went in not really thinking I could be a spacecrafting competitor. I just wanted to pay the bills. And that was all I was after.
Yeah.
And the more I talked to people, the more you just like heard about the gaps and the issues they were having or the customization that they wanted that like they couldn't get. Like sometimes when you're big, you're not very agile. Spacecrafting, I felt like, was in that position where if you want to like compare a cruise ship to a speedboat, like it's really hard to move or like get the cruise ship to do something different than it's been doing for the last 15 years. But if you're the speedboat, like you can navigate the market a little better.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the mentality we went in with. I hired Lauren, who was my temporary photographer for DRG, and bought the Matterport cameras, bought the gear, and just went to town. And we were just like in the DMs all day trying to pick up shoots. And in 12 months, we took it from $0 to $1 million.
That's huge, dude.
That's when the OneShot deal came up.
Yeah. And tell the people about the OneShot deal, because I know Jack's going to be on this podcast at some point. Love that guy.
Yeah.
Literally had the best. He might be one of the best meetings I've ever had. Just like random, no value on either side for each other. Just like, let's meet each other. Showed up, chatted for like 2 hours.
Yep. So I had a similar story. So I got into the space. You're kind of getting familiar with who's a player in the market. And I just reached out to Jack because he was very business minded. And that was like how I was going to this business, was business first. There's a lot of photographers and guys with a camera that are, creative minds first and are trying to figure out the business piece. And I feel like him and I had that mutual connection where we were business minded people, and we were just like
that's
choosing
the exact same
to do photography.
That's like my whole motto. Same thing.
And we met in Northeast for coffee and just got to meeting each other, and it turned into like a casual friendship or acquaintanceship. We were direct competitors, but we were meeting quarterly, just kind of BS. And what are you seeing? What are you doing? What are you thinking? Mm-hmm. And we got to the point at Agent where we wanted to go to new markets. Like, I thought that was the next step. Everyone that I've seen be acquired in the space is multi-market. And again, because the data is so finite, you know exactly how many real estate agents and transactions and stuff there are. Like, you can tap it out. There's only so much. It's not like a SaaS product where you can sell it to everyone.
Yeah.
There's only so many transactions, only so many homes. And so we felt like we were getting there, and markets were the next step. So I just shot Jack a text one day, and I was like, yo, you ever thought about looking at different markets? Because I'm trying to figure out, the thought process, what makes a good market, things like that.
He's really smart too.
Mm-hmm. And he responded, nope, never thought about it. And I was like, gotcha. Just trying to figure out how to level up or take the next step or whatever I said. And he responds, you could acquire a business. And I jokingly said, why, is yours for sale? And then he calls me and he's like, yeah, so I'm kind of thinking about selling. I got this pickleball venture that he's pursuing. And he's like, if you're open to it, I'm open to talking about it.
Yeah.
And at that point, we're doing good, but I didn't think we were like, acquire a company good. And I'd never done it before, like through school and stuff. I understood the gist of it and different ways you could structure it and things like that, but I didn't know a lot. And so we just got to talking about like rough numbers and what it would take and what a down payment would look like. And I was like, yeah, we have that. We have like just barely, but we have that.
Yeah.
And in kind of me fashion, it was say yes and figure it out. So that's what we did. And we went from the
And that was like a month ago.
Yeah. We closed on June 1st, and we agreed like we had an LOI in the last week of April. So this happened in like 40 days.
Yeah. That's funny you say that, because when I first met with him, he was I think he had just had his video person quit. Mm-hmm. So we now couldn't offer video, and people were ordering videos, and he was like, dude, can you do these videos? And I'm like, not for what you're selling them for. And, because like at the time, we're trying to do like brand videos, like real estate videos, like you have to pump out so many so fast.
Yep.
So his guy quit, and then I remember he was like super stressed and was talking about, he actually had some numbers in his head of selling. So that was like probably even way before you talked to him, but he's always kind of had that mindset of like, if there was an exit, I'm taking the exit.
Yeah. I could tell when he sent me over like his diligence docs and stuff like that. He had an appraisal on the business done the year prior. So like I knew the idea was in his head. But yeah, it just worked out where we were looking to make a move and he was looking to make an exit, and we went back and forth on a few things, but ultimately it went pretty smooth. And
what about that office over at Fulton? Because they had a really cool office.
They did have a cool office, and we had the option to renew that lease, but I elected not to. And part of it was just a philosophical belief of I didn't want it to feel for the team. So we acquired all their employees too. And I made a commitment to them that I wasn't going to dump them. Like I wanted them as much as I wanted the business. And it was just a philosophical thing of like, I didn't want to come into their space. I felt like everyone just needed a fresh start.
Yeah.
And so we went out and got our own, and it was new to everyone. It was new to me, new to them, new to the agent team. And it just provided an opportunity for everyone to kind of build some camaraderie. And it wasn't like, who are these agent guys showing up in our space,
Yeah. So, and how long was that whole process from how long ago did you start Agent?
Agent as I know it, as it evolved from the 101 marketing, was in early 21.
Okay. So it's been 2 years?
About 2 years.
2 years? Yeah, 2 years. That's crazy. And how many employees do you have at 2 years?
9.
That's insane. All W-2, 1099s? How
8
do you...
of the 9 are W-2.
Wow. Cool, dude. Yeah. And then, gosh, that's such an interesting business. I remember there was a point in time where I wanted to structure Bloom like that. Early days, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I think maybe it was even something to piggyback on the same thing with DRG. Like Joe called me, was like, hey, and I tried to like make it work, but I knew my heart wasn't there. And I was like, I just knew my heart wasn't there. I couldn't do it. But that's insane because now looking back, like it's insane how scalable and optimized you can make those things.
Yeah.
You guys turn them really fast.
Yeah. Next morning.
Yeah. Every time someone calls me for real estate photos or whatever, or I have some clients that work with me on some real estate photos. So every now and then I'll just hit up Jay, send him out there and just kind of like middleman a deal. And like you guys turn them so fast and they look so good.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So the trick to that is our editing team, which are not my W-2 employees, are overseas. They're in the Philippines.
Okay.
And so my team focuses on shooting all day, and we pretty much upload at 8 o'clock at night, and then the other side of the clock wakes up, right? So it's morning there in the Philippines. So they
your
can
business
edit.
is running 24/7.
Yeah, so they can edit all day, which is our overnight, and then we wake up to finish shoots. So then from there, it's just quality check and put them out.
So then are you uploading raw files?
Yep.
Okay, because that's got to be heavy.
Yeah.
For a lot of time. You have to have good Wi-Fi.
We have good Wi-Fi and
being intentional, because I mean that could be 30 gigs sometimes.
Yeah, and we've run into issues from it. Like I've had photographers that will like start their upload and go to dinner, and then something in the upload fails or a file corrupts or something like that, and then. And
let's be real, most real estate agents aren't going to hit you up next morning and be like, "Where are these photos?" Like if it's urgent, the photographer knows if it's urgent. Like, yeah.
Yeah, we also have 2 of our employees in-house are capable of editing, and.
Oh, so you can.
So we can scramble if we need to.
Yeah.
But yeah, their time's better used on other things. So that's why we don't edit in-house.
Yeah.
But as far as revisions, or if someone ever kicks anything back or wants a change, that's something we do in-house just for sake of ease. We're not going to make them wait a whole nother day for a change.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we're shooting about, between Agent and OneShot now, we're shooting about 3,000 properties annually. Which is a lot. It's a couple hundred photo shoots a month. And we're additionally, in August, we have 35 video shoots currently scheduled. And that's all over the U.S. So we have 3 in St. Louis, 2 in Tulsa, 1 in Nashville, 4 in Iowa.
What are those? Sorry, I was doing the math on.
It's all good. Those are video shoots.
Video shoots. Oh, okay, cool.
Yep. So about 35 video shoots a month on top of the photo business.
Wow. Okay, cool. And those video shoots are all over? How are you getting those?
A lot of them come from multifamily and commercial clients. So like Timberland or United Properties, Greco, those are some big companies we work with, and they own properties all over the United States.
Okay.
So when they're updating their marketing brand and feel and like media management, having everything in one place is really important to them. And so they'll just send us because we've done everything else.
Yeah. And you can put it in the same Dropbox folder.
Yeah.
Use Dropbox?
No, so our tech's all built out in the back end. We have our own portals. We have our own system.
Oh, okay. So it's all web.
Yep. So anyone
similar
can
to Spacecraft.
create an account. Yeah, very similar. So you can create an account on our website, both Agent and OneShot. We have the same technology. It all funnels back to the same place.
Yeah.
But
mine is different then because I think you sent me Dropbox.
I just send you Dropbox. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was like, wait. I know, and I actually saw it. It was funny. The last time I ordered photos with you, my card just got charged, and I was like, oh dang, he's got this stuff optimized.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, it's a pretty well-oiled machine at this point. But yeah, we're into 7-figure revenues now, and
that's huge, man. What's the long-term goal?
That's a good question.
It's probably been moving too fast for you to even think that far ahead.
And I have such like imposter syndrome about it. Like I still fail to like embrace the fact that I own like $1 million company or like any of those things that people get hyped up on. Like that's just not me. Like, I almost feel ashamed sometimes talking about it.
Yeah, I go through that same kind of thing.
So yeah, I've struggled a little bit to figure out what I want to do. In the short term, I definitely want to go to new markets. am actively figuring out if I want to continue to grow via acquisition or if it's something we want to try to like grassroots start in new markets, identifying those markets. And yeah, I'd love to just have one big media company.
Yeah. One thing, me being like 3 years in, that I have realized I've just done a really bad job of doing is like, and you kind of just alluded to it, is like just waking up and smelling the roses. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I have to just like remind myself, like I'll just be pushing, trying to get the next biggest project. And I'm like, I just like got back from like the Super Bowl and shot a video for Maxim. And I'm like, I just like sped over that like it was a speed bump. Like
I know.
I didn't even take all that in, you know? And then sometimes I catch myself like almost feeling a little like empty because I'm like, why am I even doing all this? Like, what is the bigger project going to get me besides just like me wanting another bigger one?
Yeah, for sure. It's something I deal with a ton too. And I always tell myself like 2 years ago, you would have dreamed of this. And like, you're always worrying about or dreaming for what's next. And you're never like appreciating what you're currently doing. And so
wonder what that is.
I think it's just like an entrepreneur's mentality. I think there's just a lack of complacency from like diehard entrepreneurs where there's always more. It's never enough, something of that nature. Yeah. But yeah, I'm trying more and more. It's good to have like a support system. Like I have a lot of close friends and family and stuff that are always congratulating me and telling me how great it is. And some of that stuff is hard. Like I said, I have imposter syndrome about it. And randomly I was just selling a bunch of gear on Facebook Marketplace. This was like a random thing that just kind of struck me. Clearing out a bunch of old gear from the acquisition, like we just collected. And so I literally have it like all stacked up on my ping pong table. And I literally had like an online garage sale and it was kind of just like come in, make offers type deal. And I had a bunch of people come in. Most of them are, you know, like amateur photographers and stuff buying a few-year-old used gear. And everyone that comes in the office is just like, wow, like you do this professionally. And I feel like amateur photographers or videographers like look at professional videographers and their eyes just like light up at like how cool it is. And like it's a cool space and a cool idea and all of that. And everyone would just tell me, this is so cool. And I'd always just be like, yeah. It is, I guess. Yeah. I think that's people say that same thing when they come in here, and I'm like, I hate this place. Sometimes I'm like, I hate being in here. It stresses me out. But it's kind of interesting. So now you have 9 people on a team, and honestly, like for me, one of the biggest difficulties for my business was not getting clients. It was not learning how to use a camera. It was not like finance, none of that. It was simply like managing people. Like now that I have a team around me, I think managing people is like very, very difficult. How do you work through that kind of stuff? I mean, do you consider your team pretty easy to manage? Yeah, I think they're pretty easy to manage. And honestly, I think I'm pretty easy on them as long as they're sort of meeting our core points. Like from a day-to-day shooting perspective, I always tell people like, we have to be on time. We can't make mistakes. Like we can't, forget the right lens or, things like that. We got to deliver the product on time. Like as long as those 3 things are being met, I don't really care what happens in between. Like
that's really good. That's just called boundaries. Yeah. That's one thing I think I don't know if I struggled with. I just literally didn't know they existed. I met with this business coach, and I was, expressing some struggles I've been having with the business and stuff. And she had mentioned like, you just need to set boundaries and let people know like, hey, this is where you can be lenient. This is where we need to be rock solid, And
I'm a big believer in like the opposite of micromanaging. Like I know my place. I'm a good business person. I'm not the best photographer there. I'm not the best videographer there. I'm not the best editor there. And so like, it would be detrimental if I was trying to oversee or mandate like how we do those things. Yeah. Like if you're micromanaging, you're only as good as the person doing the micromanaging. And rarely and almost never is like one person the best at everything. Yeah. And so I like let each people, photographers, videographers, editors be like, you tell me what you think looks best, what processes you feel are easiest, most efficient. Like if it works for you, it works for me, as long as we're meeting those essential pieces.
Yeah. That's super interesting. That's super good. How do you guys must have like a subscription to every single music platform? Because when I made real estate videos, I would spend hours looking for real estate.
We have Artlist and Motion Array, and I think that covers the majority of our needs.
Yeah, that's super good. Well, and the micromanaging thing's interesting because, like we had mentioned earlier, you're like basically doing the same thing. It's all repetition. It's all numbers For us, I think it gets difficult because I've noticed that when clients pay a lot, they pay attention. So if a client is paying, 5 figures for a video, it's like, we have to make this good. We have to provide value. And I find that like some of my stress comes from that. And I think that I've started to do a better job in my business of like, okay, we're going to take on these bigger projects, but we have to start saying no to the smaller projects, because sometimes if you have a big project and a smaller project going on at the same time, sometimes your team doesn't really know the quality standards that we're looking for. They don't know, how quickly it needs to be turned. And like, there's a lot of like, I guess like miscommunications if you are doing like 2 different caliber projects. And I think like for my business, we've scaled really fast, which has been great, but we still have some of these like very, very small niche little projects that we do. And then we have like these really, really large projects that take a ton of effort and a ton of like work. And it's hard to say no to the lower projects because it's like free money. It's like, why not?
Yeah, we have a similar issue, and it's not so much in like the size of projects, because I feel like generally, the price point on a real estate project is going to be less than like a marketing or brand video or something like that. Like, for example, our property showcase videos, which are something we've got dialed and we crank out a lot of them, are $1,700. And so what we run into is we've got 1,300 clients now, and within those comes a lot of referrals. They like their real estate videos, and then they hit us up for like, do you want to film my niece's concert? Do you want to film this event? Do you want to film something for my buddy's business? Like, over 1,300 people, we get a lot of like not real estate related inquiries. And I always hate to say no to them, but like, we're really clear on our niche. And I personally, if I'm evaluating a competitor, which I've been doing a lot of lately as we look at markets and I'm trying to figure out who's there. If I click on a website, and this is a me thing, and maybe I'm overly mean, but if I click on your website and it says wedding video, real estate video, concert video, it's like different tabs on your website, I'm immediately writing you off as like a legitimate competitor. Like, I'm not going to try to be everyone's everything.
Same.
And so
you have to find a niche. You have to.
Even though it's money, it's still like you have to maintain the core of what your brand means and what you want to be the best in. And you can't be the best in everything.
And we will sometimes we will take projects that don't make sense or aren't in our niche, and we will just hide those. No one even knows we did it. We'll just slide in.
We've done that too. We have a project going on right now with a big chain of auto shops. And we're doing it, but it's not going to see social. And
and that's the thing. You have to market towards what you want more of. And, that's for us, it's the product space. And we're just really focused on marketing towards products and showing that we shoot and edit and create videos around products. And that's it. That's what we want.
Right. We're
similar to you guys with real estate.
Yeah, we've actually debated starting a third company that's just like general production for not real estate, and like building that up and posting those videos there, and just so we don't have to say no to them, but it doesn't interfere with our real estate niche.
There was a couple weeks ago, I got a call, and it was about the easiest project ever. It was a celebration of life ceremony. There's gonna be like 500 people there. This poor guy tragically passed away in a plane crash, and he was a business owner, all this stuff, and they wanted to shoot the project, and I was like, well, I don't want to shoot this. I'm going to be out of town. My team's not going to want to shoot this, but if I can get a big enough budget, I can send it off to someone, and I can at least take care of you guys. So I was like, would you guys do it for $3,000? They're like, cool. Yeah, we'll do it for $3,000. I'm like, cool. I can find a freelancer to do it for $3,000. I called like 4 or 5 people, and they all said no, and I was like actually like shook. I was like, you guys are insane for saying no to this. Like, that's so free. Yeah. In my eyes. Like,
people
right
in particular, we get
some people work an entire month for that, man. I'm like trying to tell these kids, I'm like, guys, take this project. But
so in the real estate world, I personally don't take subbed out projects. We've got some companies who won't travel, or maybe their budget didn't allow for travel or something like that, and they'll reach out to us and say, my client has a property there or something of that nature. There's also some national firms whose just game it is to like take in leads and sub them out.
Yeah.
And so I won't do them. Like, we could, but I'm kind of a believer in like, I didn't invest in the talent and the equipment and stuff for you to put your name on it. And so that's just a personal belief of mine. That's different because it's like, direct competitors. It's a real estate deal. But yeah, that's just a me thing. I won't do it.
Really? So if someone subs you a project, you won't take it?
No, probably not.
Really? Interesting.
If it was just like stupid, like the budget was just obscene and it was like easy and right in front of us and whatnot, like maybe there's a scenario where it's too good to not do it. But semi-regularly, maybe once a month, I get something that's like, hey, we want to sub you out this Matterport tour, this whatever. And I'm just like, not interested.
Yeah. What's the most challenging part of running your business?
Just like the sheer amount of volume in the sense of like scheduling and stuff. Like it's
like my email, when I just email you like, hey, blah, 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 we need this.
I mean, yes, but
like if you get 1,000 of those a day,
just
you
because
feel
we
like
do
you can
so
never
many
escape.
of them, and it's with 3,000 properties a year. Within those, there's people moving. You get to homes and they can't be shot because of whatever reason. They didn't put the keys up. There's contractors there, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a constant game of like rescheduling and moving. And now like our team travels a good amount, just managing the work, having enough people. The second piece of that is the people cost. Like our payroll is pretty significant at this point. And it's funny because in the summer, we're still slammed. It's not enough. Like right now, like I feel like I'd want to hire someone, but we're so slow in the winter that we just have people twiddling thumbs if we have too many people sitting around on salaries. So
yeah, dude, that's crazy. The seasonality of it.
The seasonality.
I feel like ours isn't as seasonal.
Yeah. I mean, it follows the market to an extent, and also homes are just ugly in the winter, so no one overspends on marketing. No one wants to do home videos. No one wants to do that kind of stuff in the winter. And so the summer is insane. Like, I won't get into exact numbers, but we make profit-wise, how do I want to word this? Like, I'll make up numbers. Let's say we make 300 grand in profit in the summer. We'll spend like 150 of it in surviving the winter.
Yeah.
Like we go from making a significant amount of money in profit from March to September to losing a buttload of money in November, December, January, February.
But changing gears and assigning those 9 people to help build brand, maybe establish new markets, work on the business, not within the business so much.
Yeah.
And I bet after 3-4 years of it, you'll be like, oh, the winter is really when we make our money, because even though we're not like bringing in a ton of revenue,
Yeah, and that's one of the big pushes. Like, I don't want this to be taken the wrong way. Shout out to Jack. Love Jack. Jack has a lot of things going on. Jack had other businesses. Jack has rental properties. So Jack wasn't in it, 40 plus hours a week like I am. And so I feel like I also set a different tone. Like I'm in the office every day, and I don't demand that our employees be in the office every day, but I think that energy just trickles.
you have to lead by example.
And when they see me always there working, like they want to be there, and we make it fun and stuff, of course, too. But like, Jack had a lot of revenue streams or a lot of income streams for himself personally. So winter was a little bit of a vacation, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see this year with the OneShot. This is my first winter with OneShot. If we like really push it, what can a winner look like? Because there's a lot of opportunities. We do a lot of brand videos, like getting into your guys' stuff with a lot of our big commercial and multifamily clients. We do company history videos. We do like capital raise videos. We do a lot of stuff, more testimonial, people focused videos. And we've been doing a good amount of them lately, but that's something we can lean into more in the winter. And then also the other market piece.
Yeah. That's super exciting, man. Dang. I guess I kind of knew a little bit about your business, but this is like giving me a lot more insight into it. And I think, it's super cool how different we are, but how similar we are. Question for you: with the listing videos, do you ever get edits from clients? Like they want things changed?
Yeah. I'd say 10 to 15% of the time.
Okay. Yeah. I know a lot of agents don't want that. But that's, I wouldn't say one of our struggles. I'm fine with edits, and really at the end of the day, it's a customer service based business and we need to give the client what they want. But I would say it's probably our like number one revenue eater.
Yeah.
Is like bouncing back with a client on like 8 versions of a video.
So a thought on that is I've noticed, and this isn't true 100% of the time, but it feels like the more the client spends, the more that they accept you as the authority and the expert, and the more that they just kind of like go with what you put out. To me, it always seems to be my like nickel and dimer, low spending clients and stuff that like want to think that they know more than us.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that kind of get, I don't want to say annoying, but tedious.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of funny. It seems for us like the bigger the client, the actually easier they are to work with.
Yeah. I had a client last week. We made 3 videos for him, 2 testimonial videos and a header video. And he called me back and we set up a call to talk through the videos, and we're going through this header video for the website, right? Simple header video, right? Like just mash up all the best B-roll shots, throw them together. It's going to look great. Throw it on the website, click on the website, little movement in the background, whatever. He's like, I don't like the header video. He's like, and the testimonials aren't going to work at all. I can just tell like the voices are timid or something. And I'm like, dude, I literally thought these looked so good. Like I downloaded it, put it on our Vimeo page, going to upload it to YouTube. Like literally think these are great. And he's calling me and I was like, cool. Well, if you're all shook up over the testimonial videos, let's just go through the header video. We get about 15 shots in and he's told me he liked 2 of the shots and he wants us to replace the other 13. And I'm like, not gonna lie to you, man, this isn't gonna work. Like I don't think we're gonna have what you want, you know? And it's like, he wanted everything wide and I'm like, and it was just kind of interesting because I'm like, dude, as a cinematographer, like you need a mix of wide and tight shots. Like you would never just film an entire movie in like 16 millimeter, you know?
Right.
So I'm like trying to explain that to him, and you know, it was the same thing where, you know, he maybe thought he knew more, or what I really think happened was as soon as the invoice came, I think he was a little bit like, oh shit.
At what point in the process do you generally invoice?
For projects that are above 5 figures, I'll invoice half up front, half at the end. For projects that are below that, I'll basically just do it at the end.
Gotcha.
It depends. If it's close, if it's like $8,000 or something, I'm like, okay, let's get $4,000 up front.
We just had a little pivot in that. So agent on the residential front was always, you pay at booking. It's like a checkout on our website, which is fine because, you know, those are like $200-$300 shoots most of the time. And then for our bigger projects and video projects and stuff, the issue we were having is we would, for our case, because the use case of a real estate video is so short term, right?
Yeah.
You market it, the home sells, it's done. The video's never going to be used again. And as of the last couple of years, that generally happens very quickly. And so we'd end up in these cases where we'd, you know, put in a good amount of time and effort in making a video. We'd put it out, we'd send them an invoice, and like 4 days later, that house was sold. And then they just like didn't need the video anymore, and they struggled to pay the invoices and stuff like that. So we recently switched up on our residential front where we bill everything up front. Granted, it's a bit less money than you guys would charge.
Yeah.
But for our big multifamily and commercial clients, like when we're billing like CBRE or Best Buy or United Properties or something, that's got to go through their whole like accounts payable process, and they usually want net 60 on it, and that's just something that we have to accept, but it kind of sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. The net 60 thing, or the slow paying clients, sucks. Especially for us, because a lot of times we're bringing in a lighting team, hair and makeup, models, you know? Yeah, so I'm like $5,000 deep and I usually string, you know, I have a really good relationship with my lighting guy. So I'm like, dude, I'll just pay you when the client pays you. But like the model agency like wants the money now, and the hair and makeup girl, you know, she's $500-$600, just send it to her, whatever, get that paid off, get it done. But then sometimes it's like, wow, I need to get paid on some of this stuff. Or like we'll front with clients we've worked with for a while, we'll front like the flights, and we'll fly in and shoot everything and fly back, and I'll pay for the hotel, all the other stuff. And then like we're like trying to get it done, you know, so we can get paid.
Yeah, for sure.
And most of that's just like me. That's like nothing to do with our process. That's just me just trying to make my client's life easier.
Yeah.
I think it's super easy to like kind of play like poor me and like hit up the client a lot, but I think you just have to think big business and think like, okay, one invoice is better than 2 or 3, and it maybe feels just easier for them. Like, I don't know. I'm just always trying to make life easy on my clients. So
Yeah, for sure.
But that's interesting. You guys, so you said you charge $1,700 for a listing video?
Yeah, so a property that's on the multifamily and commercial front, that's $1,750 for that video. On the residential front, they're usually like $600 to $800.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And that's just obviously what they look like.
That's pretty good though. That's pretty good.
Well, at the rate we can crank them out too, it ends up being pretty nice.
Yeah.
Because it's like I said, we can turn them in a day or maybe 2.
Do you sell FPV videos?
So we have a partnership coming out very soon with a big FPV company who does all our videos.
I think I know who it is.
And it's not the one Spacecrafting is partnered with. Although if you want a story, I'll tell this story. It's not Sky Candy Studios.
Of course
but
not. I got a quote from them way back when, and it was very expensive.
So Mike Welsh, he's same building as I am, like 2 doors down. So we're buddies. We're playing ping pong and around each other all the time.
Yeah.
So he shoots sick stuff. Sky Candy's super cool. We reached out to him. Hey man, you want to shoot some stuff? He was shooting for us for a while. He shot our first like handful of videos. And then I think, this is speculation for the record, I think Spacecrafting saw it. And then they went out and made him an exclusivity deal that he couldn't say no to. So now he shoots real estate exclusively for
Sky
Spacecraft.
Candy.
Sky Candy shoots exclusively for
I'm
Spacecraft.
mixing him up with Jaybird.
Yeah, not Jaybird.
Okay.
Jaybird's sick too, and it's not him either.
Jaybird's like another level sick though.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But yeah, so it's coming. You can order. We're doing an FPV shoot Friday morning. So
Is it a cousin of someone who used to work at DRG?
May or may not be.
Okay.
Which actually I didn't know until recently.
Yeah. Great guy. Great guy. Love him. Dude, that's super cool, man. I don't know. I think it's like, it's interesting. I love like my favorite part of this whole thing is like the business side of things. And I think like you have the privilege a little bit more. I feel like your job as a business owner is probably a little bit more fun because it's simple like numbers and metrics, and it's pretty clear and obvious what you need to do. Like we'll have a slow month and I'll be like, I have no idea what we're doing wrong. We're just like, the phones aren't ringing. Like we're calling people, these videos are getting delayed. Like I can't figure it out. But it seems like yours is just like more turning knobs and less like mine is like a little bit more hope.
Yeah.
There's massive upsides to both, I think.
For sure. Yeah. With ours, it's just a lot more easier to generate reoccurring business, I feel like, especially when you're hooking up with a high volume agent.
Yeah.
Like some of our big teams do 215 listings a year, right? So they're ordering almost every day. So the act of getting them once, turns into an order almost every day.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a little bit of the difference. But yeah,
I think one thing I've realized is with my business, I think that it's a little bit easier. It feels to keep like employees happy just in the strictly like work side of things, because like if we'll do like the same projects over and over, sometimes I feel like my team is like, what the hell? We've done 4 recruiting videos. Like I'm so sick of doing these recruiting videos. But then we'll land like a super cool dynamic project, and we'll like the team's like invested in like making it cool, and we'll do pre-production and all this stuff. And it's like, I feel like that's like what I like about my business. It's like, I feel like my team is like doing different things every day.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised in my business, I hate to say it, that some of the guys don't get sick of like shooting houses every day.
Yeah.
Because it's not glamorous, right? It's a fairly like utilitarian industry. There's not a lot of art to it. Mm-hmm. And, but everyone, seems happy, which of course is speculative, but I think the proof's in the fact that we don't have any like turnover. Like,
Yeah.
I've never had someone leave in my ownership of either company.
Really?
And my oldest employees, so OneShot's a 7-year-old company. A lot of those guys obviously predate.
Yep.
The youngest OneShot employee has been there almost 2 years, and Agent is still the OG crew. We've never had anyone.
That's super good. That means you're probably doing something good outside of the work world. I saw you guys took out an Electric Shores boat.
Yeah.
We
I saw
made
you
a
guys
video
did
for
the video,
Electric
yeah.
Shores. Yeah. We did a pretty cool video this year on like, you might have even saw it. Like it was like how to drive the boat, and it like showed the rudder and like how you
Yep.
can hit the bottom and stuff
Yep.
like that and all that. You probably like
I watched
know how
like
to drive
30
a boat.
seconds of it, but
Yeah. But yeah, so like that's really good. But yeah, I think like you're probably doing something good outside of the office. And I think also like there's worse jobs out there, man. Like driving for 30, 45 minutes, listening to a podcast, showing up to a listing, parking, kind of throwing in I remember when I used to shoot real estate, dude, I just throw in an AirPod and I just like wander around and like, it's almost like therapeutic because you're just kind of in your own space. You don't have to like deal with people.
Right. And it ebbs and flows too. Like, sure, some days the guys are swamped, but some days their last shoot's at 1 o'clock. And like, I'm not the kind of guy that's like, come back to the office, I'll find something for you to do. Like, they go home. So
yeah, there's flexibility. That's good, dude. That's really good. I think you latched onto something good, man. And I'm rooting for you.
I appreciate it.
I got my money on you guys. So
yeah,
that'd be super excited to watch you guys continue to grow. And yeah, I wanted to get to this because we've talked a lot of business this whole time. It's been good. We got about like 5 minutes left. I want to hear about your car situation right now. You're a self-proclaimed car enthusiast. What are you driving at the moment? What's the best car you've ever had? Let's dive into it.
Okay, so it's just switched up recently, actually. I'm now day driving a Tesla Model 3 Performance.
And you love it.
I like it. It was originally I was an early Tesla hater. I'm not going to lie. Like, my family comes from cars and racing. Like, my uncles and cousins drag race. I'm there a handful of times a year at the racetrack. Like, very, combustion engine muscle car guys. And so I was into that. I was also a BMW guy. I've owned 12 cars. And
I remember when you bought that M2.
Yeah. The
I
M2
was like,
fun.
Jay bought an M2. PS is giving that boy a raise.
Yeah, that was right when I left. So random tangent. PS gave me a GMC Sierra company car. Mm-hmm. And I drove that, and I didn't actually own a car. I just drove the company truck, and they let me, and Eric let me because it was all branded up, and he's like, drive it, it's good for marketing. So it worked out. So it was my only car. And I was stupid, and I quit, and then it hit me that I was losing the car. I didn't realize it when I quit. And so I literally had to like go to CarMax and buy a car, while I still had verifiable income and was employed and stuff like that. And I was going to go just buy like a random 3 Series, and then of course parked right next to it. All that one looking all shiny and fast, and definitely like wasn't the smartest decision I ever made, but it was a fun car.
I remember thinking that when you bought it. I was like, I don't know if you should be buying an M2 right now.
Yep, I probably shouldn't have, but we got out of it and it was fine. And then I bought a Jeep Gladiator Mojave, which is really fun. Got into like the off-roading scene for like a year. Keep in mind, like, I'm weird and cars are a hobby of mine, so I usually don't own them for long, and I'm always kind of just like trading in and trading out and stuff like that. But recently I got one of my like childhood dream cars from like my Need for Speed days and like video game days, which was an E46 BMW M3, which is like early 2000s BMW M3. And so they're like the pre-electronic, totally mechanical, like light, small, fun BMW M3s. So I went to Oklahoma, bought it sight unseen, and drove it home, which is fun. And then that was the car that I just sold in a responsible move to buy my Tesla. And I wanted the Tesla, honestly, just for the dollars and cents of it. Model 3, they're getting fairly affordable. Bought mine used, and it was just with how much we drive and being able to write off the mileage, not have any gas. I commute from like Lake Minnetonka to Northeast Minneapolis every day, sitting in that like 94 to 394 traffic. Sucks. Like,
drives itself.
Rowing gears on a 20-year-old M3 was like,
what?
It sucked.
That's wild.
And then I also have a 2015 Lincoln Navigator, which is my like dad van that we use for road trips and hauling kid and dog and stuff like that. Nice, dude.
So dang, you got tons of cars. I've only ever had 2 cars.
Yeah.
But I keep it chill. I like my cars.
Yeah, my wife hates it.
I love cars. I just like, when I buy one, I like love it so much I can never let go.
Yeah. What do you have right now?
Mercedes-Benz E300.
Yeah.
And when I freaking drove it, dude, I went from a Chevy 1500 with burnt out tires, alignment was off, and it would like wobble so bad. And I was living at Expo at the time, and my uncle works at Sears Imported Autos, so he's like, take this fucking car, just drive it for the day. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I took it, drove home, hit this cobblestone road by my house, dude, and I felt like I was in a boat.
Yeah.
And I was like, I looked at my bubbly in the passenger seat, which used to just spill out everywhere, and it was like stationary, and I was like, okay, the suspension on this car is like insane. It drives super well. It gets better gas mileage. And now I want a Rivian because I'm like, I need more space. Like, if you can see back there, like we're getting encroached in on by how much gear, and I just bought like another $1,000 worth of gear today. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's
Like
what my
these
Navigator's
lights are
for,
not
but-
like we can put them in the car, but like I'm running out of space.
Yep, I feel that. The Tesla, so I bounced around with what I wanted for a Tesla, and I was originally going to get the Model Y. I wasn't interested in spending any like big money on a nice like Model S or X or anything like that. But Model Y had a little bit more space, but then ultimately I was like, what do I care about the space for if I have my Navigator? Like if I need space, I'll drive my Navigator. So the Model 3 just became my commuter, and then just by chance I had like hit up my guy at BMW Minnetonka and was like, just so you know, I'm looking if anything comes in. And he said they had one come in, and just by chance, it was a performance version, which are wicked fast. It's like 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds.
Yeah.
And so, like, the acceleration in it's unreal, and it's fun. And when I bought it, like I said, it was business. It was no gas, mileage write-off with no associated cost. You get a $4,000 tax credit for buying a used one, $7,500 for a new one. It was all those kind of things. And then after driving it for a couple of weeks and, like, realizing all the little perks, like you can just set your cabin temperature like a house so your car never gets hot when you park it out in the sun all day, and like all of just the games and trinkets, and it was like these are just fun.
It's a fun car. It's a fun car. I think I mean, if I had my dream garage, Tesla would be part of it. So
but yeah, that's what I'm driving. It's what I drove here.
Nice, dude. Well, dude, appreciate you coming on. Honestly, what a great episode. Want to let people know again that like this is like a side hustle thing that we do here, and it's more or less fun for me, and I don't put a ton of effort into like finding guests and doing things like that. So if you want to come on the podcast, literally like message me. I can't guarantee that we're gonna have you on if it doesn't make sense, but if you think you can provide value and think you can do have a great episode with us, we'd love to have you on. So just hit me up on Instagram, me or Bloom. And yeah, Jay, where can the people find you? Where can they book their next real estate shoot?
Yeah, so you can go to the websites agent.media or oneshot.media. You can book a shoot there, or you can always hit me up, email me at jay@agent.media. Yeah, on Instagram at Jay Louricas. Easy to find.
Yeah, keep an eye on this guy, man. He's going to the moon. So
Thanks
for tuning in, guys. Peace.